Good morning, everybody.
Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, nobody be on yet, but it'll be there.
Coffee isn't bad. That community coffee.
I didn't use community.
Oh,
That's
this is not-
no, that's Colombian coffee.
Oh, okay. I was looking at the red bag there. I'm like, that's pretty decent. Oh,
Yeah, I didn't use that.
okay.
I brought some.
Well, that explains.
I didn't really know if there was anything in there. I never looked to see if there was any in it, but I'm not a fan.
Are you a coffee person?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, my motto is a whole lot of Jesus, a little bit of coffee. And on a bad day, a whole lot of coffee.
My wife is a coffee person.
Oh man, I tell you what, especially we go to Bogota, Colombia every year, and oh my God, the coffee.
Have you ever tried Jamaican coffee?
I've had Jamaican Blue Mountain.
Blue Mountain
Yeah, I
coffee?
love Blue Mountain coffee.
I
I
mean,
love
coffee is probably some of the most expensive coffee in the world
Oh yeah,
because we can't make it up. We can't supply it. And the Asian market has tried to lock it in.
I bought a tin of Blue Mountain in Paris, France, and paid $40.
I'm not surprised. Our coffee is very expensive
Yeah.
because there's no country in the world that has been able to replica our coffee.
Wow. I believe it. Let's get this. Make sure I got this. I think I've got it look small already. So. Do I find something you like? What is it? Banana nut bread? What is it?
It's cinnamon swirl coffee cake.
Oh, my goodness. What did I was Morning, Jerry. Just going to rub it in a little bit. There's a really nice cinnamon coffee cake. Mm. Have a good one. Terry, good morning. For you, I'll need to repeat it when others come on. We're going to finalize a sentence. And I'm just realizing that I did not upload it. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Try to, let's see. I'll just make sure you can see the screen. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll give you the, I'm going to put 3 questions on here and then kind of lay out the sentence that we're going to write in it at the end. Thanks for giving me the reminder. That's definitely the easier way. Does this bag look familiar to any of you young ladies? It's left in the chair in the back. Here on earth, now in heaven. Put this PowerPoint up on the screen. Good morning, everybody. Blessings, blessings. Thank you for bringing the goodies. We got enough sugar back there on that table to run a marathon now. Fantastic. A couple of things I like to do in all my classes. This class, the topic isn't quite right about it, but there's an early church concept called commensality that really expresses the activity that we talk about when we talk about koinonia. Koinonia, we know, is fellowship, or literally means to take what's in me and share it with you, and you take what's in you and share it with me. It goes all the way back to the original covenants in Hebrew. Commensality is what the early church experienced on a daily basis when they'd gather together, and food was as much a part of their Christian life as reading the scriptures. In many ways more so, because very few of them even had copies of the scriptures. So coming together was more powerful because you hear the scriptures auditorially. If you don't have your own copy, you have to hear it, memorize it, don't you? And then you hear it through conversations with others, and that comes around the table. So you would understand that for the Jewish culture, the meal was huge. All the feasts, and it's interesting, they're all called feasts. The 7 feasts of Israel. You can't have a feast without food, can you? It takes food to feast. And so food was a very sacred sacrament in the early church. We've lost it along with fast food and the disintegration of our families. But I like to do this at least one day each semester, to just have some food on the table that we can kind of chat and get to know each other a little bit better. The downside is today's kind of the day where we need to get this last statement written. And I hope you're ready to write that, because we've been putting a lot of pieces together to boil it down to this personal mission statement. And I want to help you do that. Just need to get my clicker real quick. And we will first just kind of go back and review the whole journey that we've been on to get to this place, what all we've put together. And it's kind of a long, slow process. Like I said, Tuesday, normally I would teach this as a seminar in about 2 full days. Usually all day Friday, all day Saturday. We come to the end of Saturday with some clear statements and then talk about how to live those out, which is what we're going to do the next 3 weeks. You realize we only have 3 weeks of class left after this week? Wow. So how do we live that out? That's even the more important piece, to live into who the Father has made us to be. And that's, of course, by the Holy Spirit. Okay, let's see what we got here. Went to white. All right. Wonderful. Putting it all together. So we talked about our personal strengths, assessments. Those from a biblical perspective would be Romans chapter 12, how you're hardwired in your mother's womb. Some of those would include what we call our 10 unchangeables. Those are things that the Father chose for us because he knew the pattern and plan he had for us. We didn't get to choose our parents, and they'll say the same thing about you. They didn't get to choose you either. But all of the assessments that we've done, whether you did the SWOT assessment or the DISC or Strength Finders or whatever you might have used, those all simply speak to your natural strengths, personality, gifting, hardwiring natural strength. Your 10 unchangeables speak largely that as well. We've talked about identity crisis that comes through slander and criticism. And why do we have to go back and talk about that? Because if we have a wall built in our psyche, in our personality, because of some hurt or some rejection in the past, it literally walls off part of what God has designed us to be. And until you get forgiveness and healing from those things, you can't walk into the fullness of that, no matter how many assessments you might take. In fact, your assessments will always end up a little skewed if you've got a lot of that kind of trauma in your past. So we talk about tracks and fossils and how people in our past, parents, authority figures, pastors, coaches, teachers, have spoken good things and negative things over us. And some of those things have been deeply printed into our soul so that they are more like fossils. They're embedded. We may not even realize it. Some of them are like tracks. The wind blows and that's gone. And same way as relationships. Some relationships are lifelong. Some relationships are kind of mid-length, and some are very short-term. But it's important to discover and to stay abreast of. Let the Holy Spirit talk to you about what's tracks and what's fossils in your life. What has marked you permanently, good or bad, and let the Lord work in those things. And we've talked about strengths and weaknesses, especially neurologically, the difference between trying to drink through a fire hose and drink through a straw. Okay, when you work toward your strengths instead of spending all your time trying to strengthen your weaknesses, you're actually living into your power. You're living into what God made you to be. And so we said that when you do that, you're actually living 6 to 8 times more effectively than someone that's trying to do it in their weakness. Then spiritual gifts. We took the spiritual gifts assessment and primarily the motivational gifts on that. You might have questions about how some of that came out. Maybe you took the not just the motivational gifts, but the manifestation gifts of the Spirit. And what does that mean? Maybe you feel called to fivefold ministry and you took that and you're trying to work that out. Well, chat with me after class anytime these next 3 weeks, and if I can help you get some understanding on that. Then we talked about our action words, the big list with all the adjectives and actions, and you circled 5 of those. And I'm going to ask you to draw from 3 of those words today, in forming your sentence. And then we talked about the difference Tuesday between personal, general, and genuine passions. And you should have some sense of what your genuine passion is. Doesn't mean that will forever be the same. There's going to come seasons in your life where the Lord takes you on a journey in a different way. And maybe different geographies or different circles. I think I mentioned this to you, and I don't claim to understand this, but when I'm in some circles, I'm understood and received as a pastor. When I'm in other circles, I'm received as a prophet. When I'm in other circles, usually in other geographical places, I'm received as an apostle. And it's amazing how when people draw something out of you, how you rise to that and it comes out. So when I go to Western Europe or Eastern Europe, generally I'm received there as an apostle because we planted churches there. We've gone in and we've helped establish churches and movements. For example, Russia and Republic of Georgia, Armenia. So just because you go through the assessments and you say, okay, I scored highest on this, so I must be that. Well, don't get yourself in too hard, rigid of a box. The Lord can use you many, many numbers of ways. And as you grow and mature, He'll cause something to come out of you that you didn't even know was in there before. And maybe when you're in your 50s, you're operating in a whole different sphere than you are right now. And that's a wonderful thing, because walking with him is an adventure. Has anybody found that to be true yet? Okay. If you disobey him all the time, it's not, because you just stay in your own little group. But when you start walking with him and obeying his voice, then it really, really gets fun. So on this piece of paper, we're just working from this piece of paper. Sorry you guys don't have it, but I've given you the bottom line. We're going to go back and pull together from all the things that we've put together so far. And so if you've got something in front of you to write with, then you're going to want to write as we work this out. And we have now about 30 minutes to get to it. And so we want to go back, and I want you to write down your top 3 spiritual gifts. Your top 3 spiritual gifts. That would be from the spiritual gifts page. And you probably just drawing from the motivational gifts. And so I want you to draw the top 3 of those. Doesn't mean you're going to use all of them, but you're going to blend them together for a statement. Top 3 spiritual gifts. Either you remember that, or you can scramble and find the page. Now, the other reality is we'll walk through this, and if you feel lost, or man, I'm not sure, I need more time to think about it, then take more time to think about it. Maybe you want to work on it for a couple of days and ask the Lord to really speak to you about it and get a statement. What I'm really going for here is a statement that digs deep down into all of these resources we've drawn up about you. Hey guys, just pull right in here close. All right. Thank you. I want you to cultivate a statement that rolls off your tongue, because you're going to have 1,000 conversations where you meet somebody for the first time, or it might even be an interview for a job, and they say, "Tell me about you." And if this statement rolls out of you, you have just given them a huge gift to see deep into you, into what you're all about. And they'll receive you for who you believe yourself to be. If we hum-haw around, we're not quite sure, we start talking about the town we're from, or how we were abused as a child, then guess what? That's how they know you. You don't want people to know you by your weaknesses. You don't want people to know you by the unfortunate, traumatic circumstances of your life, do you? You want people to know you by the way God wired you and gifted you and what you're being called to do. That's going to open doors for you. So we want it to be a succinct enough statement, not a long, complex sentence, but a succinct enough statement that it can roll off your lips. And it may take you a few days to kind of cull that down and wordsmith that to get it just the way you want to. But what I want to help you do is think about the key components that need to be in there. So first of the top 3 spiritual gifts, if you've got those down, then I want to just add this to your thinking. Okay, we didn't really go into this the last 4 weeks, but I just want to add this into your thinking about the way God's working in your life. Prophetic confirmation. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you've ever received a prophetic word, because most of us have. Undoubtedly, there's 1 or 2 people here that think they haven't, though you probably have. It just didn't come in the way you were expecting. In addition to gifts, strengths, and passions, I'm going to turn around this way so everybody's not looking back in my head there. Can't do that. I'm stuck. In addition to gifts, strengths, and passions, the Lord may use prophetic words of edification, exhortation, and comfort various times in your life to awaken you to a gift, a calling, or an assignment. This is the Holy Spirit knowing what's ahead for you, though you can't possibly know it yet. Giving it to somebody to draw something out of you that you may not believe could happen to you yourself. These prophetic words can be new words, that be a new idea in the mind of God for you, something you've never thought of before. If somebody says, you're going to be a concert pianist, and you've never had a piano lesson, and nobody in your family plays an instrument, then that might be a brand new word for you, a new word. And I know a young lady, it happened just like that. And she was already a teenager, had never thought about playing a piano. But that word awakened something in her, and she applied herself, and she became a concert pianist. That's very rare to start that late in life. So the prophetic word, a new idea in the mind of God for you, will put something on your radar. Let me just throw a story in here real quick. When I was in 5th grade, I was sitting in a desk right back here in the classroom, and some girl walked by my desk and dropped a note on my desk. It was all folded up, real nice and tight, folded up, just dropped it and kept going. And I don't remember who that was, but I slowly opened this up, and it says, gave this girl's name, this girl's friend, gave her name and says, she really likes you. Now I'm 5th grade. Woo! You know what happened? This girl, the name on the paper, I'd never really had a thought about her at all. Didn't know her. Didn't think about it. All of a sudden, she likes me. What do you think that did to me? She is on my radar now. I am thinking, which way does she walk home, and can I walk her home? She likes me. You know what a prophetic word does in your life, especially a new word? It puts something on your radar that was never there before, and all of a sudden, your heart is open to a new possibility. New words can be a confirming word, which confirms something you already know or see in your spirit. Maybe something you've already been praying about, you've been thinking about, maybe the Lord's already spoken to you about it, but somebody comes and confirms that, a confirming word. We're familiar with that. Confirms what you already know. Or it could be an old word, reminding you of something that He'd spoken to you earlier, but you forgot all about it. But the prophetic words that you have in your life, if you've not started doing this yet, I want to encourage you to start a file, either on your computer or in an envelope. If you'd rather write by hand, then do it that way. But start a file and write down every word you receive from God. Whether it comes through a friend, a preacher, a prophetic word of somebody that's up and say, I believe the Lord's telling me something about you and I want to share this. Can I? Yeah, write it down. Write it down. Then over the course of your life, you go back to that. In your prayer times, you go back to that and you pray those things, and you begin to see the common thread in these things, and you see God writing a script for your life. Do not discount the words that God speaks to you. And these are something that you should think about even in the course of developing this statement. What has God already said to me about where He sees me? Those words have to be judged. We understand that. We don't buy everything just because somebody says it's a word of the Lord. So we reflect on those words that God's spoken to us. And then 5 of your top strengths. So we've already called some of these together. We're just going back and bringing those now all together. If you would go through and look at your strengths, your assessments, and somebody asked me by email last night or this morning, said, do we turn these into you? All of this is for you. It's not for me. It's not going to do me any good. It's going to do you a lot of good, though. Your assessments, keep them with you. Start a file. Everything that you've called together to make this statement, and especially these assessments, whether it's a DISC assessment or your motivational gifts or strength finders or SWOT or whatever you've done, keep those. Keep those. So go to the top 5 of those, and we want to bring them over to this category, write them down. If you only do 3, that's okay. But we want to just bring that before our eyes again. Everybody still with me? Yes? Good? Got it? Get out of the way so maybe these guys can see some of this here. The top 5 strengths. And then you're going to grab your 3 top action words. Remember the big list with all the words. And I had you circle, I think, 5 of those. I want you to get the 3 that speak the most to you. Now, it may be that once you begin to form this sentence, you realize there's another word that fits better, says it better. And what you don't want necessarily are three words that say the same thing. You know, like edification, encouragement. Those are synonyms. So it won't do you a lot of good just to have three words that say the exact same thing. But if there are three words that embrace a different way to do it, equipping could be different from encouragement. Would you agree with that? I'm just picking some out of the thin air. Why? Because equipping comes from the Greek word katatismos, which literally means the mending of broken nets. So when Jesus found Peter and his brother Andrew down by the seaside, they were katatismos. They were equipping. What were they doing? They were fixing their equipment. So what do equippers do? We say, well, we equip people to do the work. Well, the first thing we do is we bind up what is broken. We have to mend what is broken before we can be effective in doing what we've been made to do. The nets have to be mended before they can actually catch fish. What were they made for? They were made to catch fish. But if they got a bunch of holes in them, they'll never catch fish. You're made to catch fish. But if you got a bunch of holes in you, you're not going to catch many. Why? Because you're so self-conscious about your own flaws that you don't talk to anybody else. So you're not catching any fish. So part of what equipping does is comes and binds up, mends, sews together where we're broken. We get whole so that we can fulfill our function, catching fish. So if I use these two words, equipping and encouraging, I got two very different things going on here, don't I? Encourage is to build up, strengthen you. You're feeling positive about what the Lord's doing in your life. Equipping may have a whole different arrangement of healing, maybe counseling, maybe prayer, maybe some binding and loosing. Who knows? But it's all this getting us whole so we can function. So get your three action words together. And then we're talking about our genuine passion. And we finished this on Tuesday. I hope you came down with maybe one concise statement here that you can fill in at the top. If you have that in front of you, then just fill in this blank. Or if you can remember the big idea, then fill this in here. I must make a difference in what? Okay, remember the difference? General passion. Somebody needs to do something about that. But my genuine passion is when I see something, I have to do something about that. Now, no matter who you vote for, if you're an American citizen and you're voting, I hope you're voting. This is not a political statement, but just a quote. President Trump said in one of the recent debates, he said, when I saw how our government was being mismanaged, now he's a businessman, when I saw how the government was being mismanaged, I knew I had to do something about it. He said, the reason I ran for president is because I had to correct. He saw all of these deals being made with other countries, and by and large, they were, as he would see it from a bad business deal. He said, we got to redo our contracts. We got to redo our treaties. We got to renegotiate. What drove him to the presidency? He didn't do it for money. He's lost over $1 billion since he's been in office. He's the one president we've had that was a billionaire before he got there, so he didn't get in office to make money. Okay, that's just a sidebar. But he's not that. He got in office because he had an expertise and he could see through his gifting. Everybody say this with me. My gift gives me eyes. My gifts give me eyes. When you have gifts, you have an ability to see things that others don't naturally see. Your gifts help you to see. And you'll see things that something's got to be done, and it's going to be me. Okay, you jotting that down? I hope you have that. And again, if you don't feel like you've got to come up with this by the end of this class, but I do want to walk you through it. And I will ask you for your final grade, I'm going to ask you to give me your statement. Now, you can just fluff that and make something up in the moment. You can claim John chapter 14, where Jesus says, when you're brought before magistrates and great men, you don't have to worry about what you're going to say. The Spirit will put His words in your mouth in the moment. You can try that if you want to. But I'm giving you an opportunity to get something in your holster that will serve you for the rest of your life, if you'll use it. I must make a difference in. That would be a cause or a people group or a problem, okay? In particular, seeing a problem. So what is the pain or the problem that I want to eliminate? These questions, we've already dealt with them. We looked at these Tuesday. So you should have this down somewhere. I'm just asking you to carry it over, think about it fresh as we turn to write this statement. What's the pain or the problem that I want to eliminate? What's the group, should be a comma there, the group, the people, or the cause that I want to help? And that will quite often change. Paul was passionate about his own people, wasn't he? I'll pluck out my right eye for my people to be saved. And yet, when they rejected the gospel, he was clearly called as an apostle to the Gentiles. So he lived the rest of his life serving another people. What is the group, people, or the cause that I want to help? What is the end result or the cure to be reached? Okay, there needs to be an end goal and a way to state that in a very succinct term. In my own personal statement, developing is that. Part of my mission statement is to equip and strengthen and develop leaders to lead the body of Christ. I am a pastor leader, equipping pastors, equipping leaders, consulting pastors, that kind of thing. So what's the end result or cure? Is it to banish poverty in a certain country or state or people group? Is it to equip the church into a new way of ministry? Is it to bring the life of the kingdom into an inner city somewhere in America or Europe or someplace else? What kind of questions does this raise for you? Anything you need to ask before we turn the page? Because when we turn the page, we're going to work on this sentence. All right, turn the page. Backside of the page, for those of you that are watching online, you have one of these two sentences written in your thread, and you can look at that one. Okay. Yep. This is called sustain the suspense. So we're back to this. Everybody remember this picture? Okay. So where these overlap, where your spiritual gifts, your passion, your strengths and talents, where those overlap is where you're going to find God's purpose for your life. And then as you grow in the Lord, these circles come together until all of those are flowing like a pipeline or a fire hose through your life. Okay, so you're not going to work on two sentences, you're going to work on one. But I want to give you a couple of options. I really usually use three, but it can be confusing when you don't have a lot of time to talk it through. So I've got two. And let's just work through. I'm going to ask you to give me a word or two, and we'll just build a statement here. If we were to use number one as a template for building this personal mission statement, I might start by saying, I exist to. Okay, I'm going to choose one of these four descriptors. I exist to provide, or I exist to give, or I exist to offer, or I exist to supply. You're going to choose one of those. You don't have to choose it right now. We're just going to talk through it. I choose to provide. What's the end result? Anybody got an idea about an end result that you're thinking about? Deliverance, okay? Deliverance is a way to get somewhere. What would the somewhere we get to be after deliverance? Freedom, okay? So I exist to provide freedom for, could be to or for, a cause, a group. Somebody give me a cause or a group. I exist to provide freedom for, let's say, homeless single mothers. Homeless single mothers. We're going to use through, by, or with. Okay, pick which one. And we're going to massage it. By, what's a gifting or one of your action words that you want to put in here? Okay, let's go back and look at it again. I exist to provide freedom to homeless single mothers through, somebody just give me 2 or 3 action words. Through serving, training, feeding. We're just grabbing something. Or you could put prophecy. Maybe one of your gifts would fit in here as the means through which you're going to provide. Kind of catching it now? So I exist to provide freedom for homeless single mothers by serving, training, feeding, and feeding. And then what are you going to feed them? The Word of God, or a certain curriculum, or a pathway of freedom. Okay? So there's one. Let's look at this one. I exist to. Okay, let's throw the same words in here just so we're not getting too complicated. I exist to serve, train, and feed. Here's where I would, I would flip these going this way. Feed, let's say, single mothers for total freedom. Okay. Now, single mothers, in the big state of things, it may not be a big enough group. Maybe it is to give your whole life to, but you're thinking about your whole life and what God's calling you to do. Okay? Let's do another one. I exist to encourage. Any preachers in the house? Preach. Equip. Here again is where I would flip these probably. Who am I going to feed and equip? Young leaders in the Pacific Realm for pastoral ministry. You want to do another one? Everybody's kind of staring at me like, what? What? Somebody help me. Let's do another one. I exist to inspire, create. Okay, thank you. Inspire, create, and produce. Powerful films for transforming my culture. Starting to make sense? So you're using the words that have already been meaningful to you, your gifts, your callings, any cause or group that you feel called to. You're not locked into this. You can, just like I'm saying, let's just flip those two. You can do that, but there are certain components that need to be there. Something of your gifting needs to be in the statement. Something of your action words, what motivates you, needs to be in the statement. something of your gifting, how you're going to do that, and then what's the cause that you're doing it for. Now, you can readily see that this may not be a lifelong statement, and that's okay. There may be some major turns for you, or you hit 30 and suddenly somebody gives you a prophetic word and it totally radically shifts your trajectory. God can do that any way he wants to do it. Amen. And when he does, you'll be able to rewrite that statement easy enough. But if you can get the trajectory and the sense of purpose as you understand it right now for your life, if you can get it down to a sentence like this, then it's going to keep you from falling into depression or despair or I just don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. That word will come up to you and the Lord will strengthen you with it. And every time somebody asks you, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to Christ for the Nations. Why? Because I'm learning how to strengthen, encourage, and produce films that will change my generation. Wow. I'm hiring you. Right? All right. I want to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to be quiet, and I want you to work on your sentence. I've given you some room at the bottom, so you might have to rewrite it 2 or 3 times, or you might write 2 or 3 different versions of it. But try to incorporate one of these 2 templates, even if you have to move some things around a little bit. And again, try not to use 3 action words that are all synonyms of the same thing. Yeah, and I'll either find one or 2 years. Okay, great. See? No. So if you could put that on the red back to yeah. All right. For the online students, somebody's asking if we posted this on. No, I've not posted the document. I mentioned that at the beginning of class. I've not posted it, but I will do so as soon as class is over. I know that's not helping you much right now, but hopefully you're able to see what's on the screen and use that until we can get that to you. Sorry about that. That's my bad. just 2 more minutes, and then maybe we can hear a couple of your statements. You might have 3 different versions of the same sentence, just written different ways, slightly different ideas. You just want to look at them and kind of mull them over and see which one you're going to land on. That's good. It's a good way to do it. I see a number of people still writing. I don't want to disturb you, but we're just about to the end, and it might help us more if we hear 2 or 3 folks that have something of a finished sentence that they'd be willing to share with us. Who would like to share with us your draft? We're not saying it's final, but can you stand and turn around so everybody can hear you?
Provide training to children and children workers around the world by serving, educating, and encouraging. And the next one as well.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
I exist to educate, encourage, and serve children and children's workers around the world for God's glory.
Excellent. Good stuff. Did you leave anything out? Complete sentence? Yeah. Good stuff. So there's our passion. Our passion's children. Cause is global. It's good. And what were the action words you used?
Encourage, educate, serve.
Encourage, educate, and serve. Okay. So the one thing that could be added in there, I don't know that it's necessary, but if there's any gifting you have, maybe it is teaching, maybe it is serving, maybe that's your gifting, then that's a great sentence. Somebody else. I'll give you a bagel. Anybody? Give it a shot. Nico, you're just almost there. Come on, stand up and read yours.
I exist to give hope, joy, and love to the youth by teaching, defending, and encouraging.
Excellent. It's very good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, a couple of things I want to say. We understand that the purpose of our existence is not just to do something, right? The purpose of our existence is to be loved of the Father, receive His love. But when we're talking about a mission statement, we could say my mission is to, but we've just started with I exist. You can do that either way. My mission is to. Now I'll say something about youth ministry because I was a youth pastor here in Fort Worth back in 1863 to 1868 for those 5 years. And what I discovered was that there came a point in time when my focus and my passion shifted from youth ministry to something else. For me, I actually began to realize that parents were abdicating their responsibility and expecting the youth pastor to raise their kids. I even had one parent come say, "What are you going to do about my Johnny?" I say, "What? What are you going to do about my Johnny? He's far from God." I wanted to say, a little late, because you hadn't done anything about it for 15 years. But I began to realize I could shape youth by teaching parents how to parent. So my mission shifted as I grew in my own levels and layers of maturity. All right. Anybody else want to try it? Go ahead. Stand up and turn around so we can hear you real good.
I seek to serve, restore, nurture, families to be their own life in Jesus. In God.
Families.
Families.
Families. And say the last phrase again.
To live
an abundant life in God. That's fantastic. Okay. And the Lord will give you lots of little vignettes of that. But what that mission statement will do, if it really comes from the depths of who you believe you to be, it'll empower you to be able to say no to good things that really are somebody else's mission. You realize I don't have to do that because that just takes me away from my mission. It doesn't mean you say no to everything, because we're all going to serve and connect with one another. But it does mean that we have to know what we're primarily called to. All right, that's a great, great start. And please spend some time working on that before next Tuesday. Now, starting Tuesday, we're going to take a little shift. Then we're going to really work. We've been working in the Suke circle all this time. Now we're going to drop down into the Pneuma circle, and we're going to talk about how to develop ourselves from the inside out, how to develop our spirit man, and then how to put that into some daily activity. Okay? Anybody for another bagel? We got piles of food back there. So grab something and a cup of coffee before you go. Blessings to you. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Keep working on those statements. All right, guys. I know that might be rough for you, but hopefully you're able to see enough and hear enough to work on some things. Anybody have a mission statement you want to put on the thread? Yeah, the personal mission statement, action words, is on file. Look in course documents. You may have to look really slowly to know what file is. The last things that I put up for last Tuesday are in the top 2 places on the course documents list. Right? So we'll put this PowerPoint up in course documents. We'll put the PowerPoint up in course documents this afternoon. And you can either work from the PowerPoint. We'll also upload this Word doc, and you can work from that if you want to. Work on this statement, get it together, because it's going to show up on your final exam. All right, guys, blessings. Have a good day.